Okay, so we're gonna go over um, a few more selection tools. Um, there's three. We've already talked about the lasso tool, the selection tools. Um, these are basically based on shapes and freehand selections with the lasso tool. These three are a little different. So the magic wand, the quick select tool, and the object selection tool, they all make selections based on color. So it's a little bit different than the other two selection tools that we worked with on the previous project. But let's jump right in. Let's see how these tools work. So essentially, the object selection tool um, is very straightforward. It basically it allows you to make selections based on what the software thinks you're trying to select. So it'll basically guess for you if you just select it, click on it, or draw like a box over it. And I've given you several images to choose from. I'm going to use this image for this particular demonstration. And we'll start with that tool. We'll start with the object selection tool. Just jump right in. So we'll make a box around this car, let go, and it's gonna make a selection that's almost perfect, right? I mean, if you look at it, selected most of the car for me. The edges are pretty cool, but if you look at the wheel is not selected correctly. This wheel isn't selected correctly, and there's some selection down here, some stuff in here that shouldn't be there. So I'm going to switch over to my quick select tool, which also makes selections based on color, but it gives me a little more freedom, kind of similar to the lasso tool, where I can click and drag over the area I want to select, and it'll kind of select the colors in which that are in that area, and I want to add to my selection. So I'm going to click the shift key so I can, as you can see, I'm zooming a little bit closer so you can see. But if you look at the wheel, as I hold the shift key and just click and drag over the wheel, more of the wheel is being selected. And I can just very carefully mouse over the area while holding the shift key and get that full precise selection. All right, I'm gonna zoom back out. I'm gonna do the same thing for this wheel here. I'll hold the shift key and you can see that plus sign that shows up in the middle of the selection icon when you press the shift key. I'm gonna also select this, but I also want to deselect a couple things, right? I want to deselect down here, I want to deselect here. So I'm gonna hold the option key, you see that minus sign, and I'm gonna deselect. Oh, that went up a little too high. I'll fix that in a second. Deselect that. I'm gonna go back to my shift key and reselect with an R, reselect this area. It doesn't have to be perfect for the demonstration, but it does have to be perfect for the project. So I'm just making sure that I get that whole tire, but not any of the ground tire. Okay, so now I have this entire car selected, right? Um, so now it's time to add our adjustments in our filters. So we can go up to image, adjustments. And like I said, the car is the only thing selected. So any of these adjustments or filters that we do will only be affected. The only parts that will be affected will be the parts that are selected. And so I go to my hue saturation. I can change the color if I want to. I can add more saturation to the color, less saturation to the color, light or dark. Control all these things just from this one image adjustment. Green is kind of cool, but I like this aqua blue. There we go. Let's get this blue. I'll click OK. And now let's say I want to select only the background, right? Only the background. So if I have just the car selected and I only want to select everything that's not the car, I can select the inverse, which is Command Shift I. Command Shift I. And now only the background is selected. So now I can add some adjustments. I'm gonna do a photo filter so I can add more color. So that I can, once I've added my photo filter, my warming photo filter, I can go hue saturation, make it more saturated, change that color as well. Let's go with like a little darker blue, something that matches a little bit. Maybe add a filter. There's a filter, there's a blur filter that's really cool that you can add. It's a motion blur. It kind of makes the car look like it's moving. That's a cool filter there. And so now what I've done is I've taken using my selection tool, I'm gonna hit Command D to deselect. I've used my object selection tool and the quick select tool to make a precise selection for the car and for the background. The magic wand tool, just quickly, is just like the quick select tool, except you don't click and drag, you just click. And then it finds the area that is closely related to that particular color. You can hold the shift key and continue to click around the image and get matching colors. Um, but yeah, the magic wand tool is just like the quick select tool. You'll learn it more just by practicing with the various images that I've given you to work on this project with. But again, it's just about making selections, and then once you've made your selections, you can get your image adjustments and your filters and make some cool artwork.